This one goes out to the Artcasters. Ooh, Artcasters! I say you're catching your spell, Artcasters. Catching your spell. Ooh, you're gonna cast that spell. Strike a hell. Whoa! Ooh. Hi, hi. Hi, hi. Hi, hi.
Welcome to Artcasters, episode 464. We're rocking out with percussion instruments today, guys. We're going to be getting into a pretty fun topic with a returning guest. You guys should all know, practically not a guest, almost like a third host.
Like a family.
Like part of the family. And then Jim's down here going, just when I thought I was out. We're going to get into it, but before we do, let's make the rounds and kind of tell everybody who we are and where they can find us. Since you're here, you're on my channel. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications when we're about to go live. And also, real quick, usually I'd be plugging my books and stuff like that, but today is a release of the third No Saboteurs album. I feel pretty strongly that this is the best work musically I've ever done with my friend Josh Patterson and Jacob Patterson. And it's a pretty solid album, and it's free. You can stream it for free on music platforms everywhere. The album is called The Sun Eventually Sets on Everything.
Full screen.
Let's see. How do we do that?
Need full screen.
There we go. I'm not a boomer. I know how to do this stuff. And I'll move that up too. Oh wait, I thought I would move it up. Here it is. Boom, I'll move it up. So make sure you guys check out this album. It's really good. It's 12 songs. It's on Spotify and music streaming platforms everywhere. And one other thing about it, this piece was actually a big, giant, like assemblage, collage kind of thing we did with like Mod Podge and paint, and we wanted it to look kind of like a Pavement album cover. And we ended up giving the original as a gift to the guy to Robbie Coleman, who did the mixing and mastering and recording, helped us record drums too, for it. So that's basically where I'd like to send you guys. Make sure you check out No Saboteurs. And let me get out of here and pass it to Scott. Scott, where can people find you? Where do you want to direct people? What news do you want to tell them regarding your Kickstarter?
Oh, yeah. I don't know where to tell people to go because I've been talking about my Kickstarter so long, but it's wrapped up. So thank you.
Yeah, you finished.
It is complete. And I don't have the Kickstarter funds yet, but that hasn't stopped me from getting ahead of everything. I've already sent everything to the printer, put what I could on a credit card, and then once I get the money from Kickstarter, I will pay that credit card. So, yeah, because I want to get people their stuff super early. Plus, I want to have my product for Phoenix Fan Fusion, sell my books. So, I've got everything. I've got like 3 different printers: one for the trade, one for the single issue, and one for some of the prints and things. So that has all already gone out. So hopefully, I will get everything on time, and you guys who backed it will get everything super soon. So under my name, you see youngandthedead.com. That takes you to the Kickstarter, which I thought I set up late pledges, but I can't figure out how to back them. So I guess just go, if you want to find what I'm doing, just go to circworks.com or go to my, if you want to see my YouTube videos, go find Circworks Art Labs on YouTube.
Awesome. I love it. Scott, congrats on getting funded, and that's got to be a bit of a relief. Now it's just the suspense, waiting for the proofs, right? Just to make sure.
Yeah, I got
make sure everything.
Today. Yeah, I've been struggling.
Oh, you did.
Proof. Yeah, I got one proof back today, and because it was an error on my part, but a lot of the early issues I guess somehow shifted to the right. so I had to go and correct all that and resend it. So
Just
hopefully
like
it's
your
still back.
politics.
Yes.
Speaking of right-leaning politics, let's introduce our guest. We have a returning guest, amazing indie animator extraordinaire, musician and comedian, Jim Lujan. Jim, how's it going, man? Where do you want to send people? I have a link directly to the latest episode and to your YouTube in the chats, but where do you want to send folks?
Send them to my YouTube and just subscribe there, because I have a new project that we'll be talking about tonight. And I will post it there. You'll see it there. And my name goes to jimlujan.com, goes to my YouTube channel. But
I love it.
thank you guys for having me on tonight, too, by the way.
Absolutely.
No, it's awesome. Sorry, what?
I said thanks for coming on at short notice.
Oh, okay.
Even though he had requested to come on before.
Hey, a dollar's a dollar. So.
No, I appreciate it, because I was just thinking about, like, with the Unicornians and the show that's going currently. I thought we got to get you on soon, so I'm glad we were able to get you. Let's talk about it. Let's talk a little bit about the topic. So, Jim, you brought up expanding on previous properties with Jim Lujan. Well, with Jim Lujan wasn't brought up, but that would be funny. What topic do you want to do? Expanding on previous properties with Jim Lujan. But you brought up expanding on previous properties. What kind of makes you think of that as a topic? And then maybe we can get into what is the process? How does that start, expanding on previous properties? Because I feel like there is a Lujan verse that tends to do such things. So
when you invest in a property, you can compound that money and buy another property, and the tax laws, depending on what state you're in. So that was all the comedy.
You guys don't want it to depreciate in value. Yeah. By the way, this is not the Artcasters. This is the Investcasters. Welcome.
This is the Dollar Casters. So, so I think it is very wise to get as much mileage as you can from every project that you do, because you put so much energy into them. It's nice to kind of try to squeeze as much life as you can and out of those projects in whatever way that you're comfortable with. Me, it's just making more projects. So who needs money? That's all overrated. But I
love that. Yeah.
It kind of drives the project too. Like as I'm doing, for example, I did the full length movie, The Full Fungus. There's so many characters in that I was like, oh, I would love to do a story starring this person, or do a story starring this, And so for me, project fuels other projects. I think it's also good to look back at your body of work and to kind of put a magnifying glass on a little portion of it to create, like, for example, I created a character called Boba Fett, and we made a series out of it, and I got a lot of grief, but I'm glad I did it. And
those Vespa kids were awesome.
Well, that's why I did it, to get the Vespas into the Star Wars universe.
I knew it all
Goal
along.
Achieved.
Internet, you know who to blame. I think that what's fun about the Lujan verse, though, is I have music on the brain because of the release today or whatever, but it's like even the process of like writing music with my friend is a very like yes and kind of process. It's a lot of like improv, kind of having a safe space where you can try out different things and roll with them and kind of just see where it goes. And that ends up leading into weird areas where you're playing things you never thought you would play and stuff like that. I think creativity works like that with, like, I see that all the time in the Lujan verse, and I can kind of see how it happens because you come up with these fascinating characters in your cartoons. And in the cartoons. I just realized that sounds really bad. Like really in those silly, cartoons? Funny pages. But no, you come up with some really interesting characters that are really fascinating, and I can see where just as a creative, you would like create a character and then you're like, that's kind of too good. I gotta, what would like you start thinking a lot about their backstory, and that can lead into like this whole other property. Now this particular property that we're going to be talking about today happens to be my favorite, like of all your cartoons, just for not, I think the main reason is just the subject matters. It just hits all the right points for me. Like it's got a cult, it's got a funny, like kind of wacky evangelical dude. It has intrigue and, it's really exciting. And when you were talking about making this into a series, I was super excited because I can see like how that would just, I mean, there's an endless playground there. But anyhow, my point was I just agree with you, and I definitely have experienced that where when you're being creative, it leads to more ideas that just naturally kind of flow out of the thing you made, because. Like even with stuff I love, like Better Call Saul is a really good example of that. I think I like Better Call Saul more than Breaking Bad, and I think that writer and director was just like, let's chase this other character who's really interesting that I created. Like, what's his story?
And let's not forget about Malcolm in the Middle. That's also a good spinoff of it. So.
Yeah, and the spinoff that was the middle. It was about the middle that he was in.
Yeah,
like the whole time we watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole time we watched it, we really never saw the middle.
Yeah. I want to comment on what you said, Josh. First of all, before I forget, congratulations on the album. Really, I believe it truly is your best work.
Yeah, I haven't heard it yet. I got to listen to it.
It's really good. I mean, from the cover on, the cover's my favorite cover art that you have, and then from the first song to the second song. Just onward, it just has a really good feel. Also, it reminds me in a strange way of Pet Sounds. I don't know if that makes any sense. And when you listen to it, you'll think, yeah. So
I can see that, like, not as I wouldn't put it on par with Pet Sounds for sure, but the production of it, we did do a lot of layering and a lot of different instrumentation and stuff. So I could see where it would have that like kind of vibe.
I meant actual pet sounds, like dogs barking or growling.
It sounded like cats and dogs.
Yeah, fighting. It just congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Thank you for hyping up the Reverend John Henry Unicorn and that whole thing.
I'm so pumped.
This is a pretty easy task for me at this point because I know exactly where the story's going because and for those of you that don't know, I'm working on a series called The Unicornians, which is it's a series focusing on this the First International Church of the Unicorn, which is run by the enigmatic John Henry Unicorn, the Reverend, but he's in prison during this entire series, so you'll only see him in flashbacks and things like that. And this is kind of about what happens to the Unicornians while he's in prison, what goes on. But what it's really about is there's an undercover investigative reporter that infiltrates the church and wants to find out of all of these shading dealings and things going on and wants to do an expose piece on it because his career is in the toilet and he needs this story bad. So this was originally going to be a movie that I did, a feature-length movie. And after I did the Full Fungus, which is an hour and 42 minutes, which is, an hour. It's an hour and 42 minutes. Is that 102 minutes? It is, huh?
I can't do math, so I'll just say
60. 42. Yeah, it is. Which is exactly how long Casablanca is, by the way. So
it is your Casablanca, really.
It's my Casablanca. So after doing that, I realized do not want to take on another feature right back to back like that. But what it also did for me, it's like learning to run a marathon, and then you have to run a what do they call that? A turkey trot or something?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
I've heard of it. I don't know what it is.
Okay, whatever. Like to run around the track.
You got to run a potato sack race now.
Yeah. And so like doing these little short episodes that are, 6 minutes, 7 minutes long or whatever, is a breeze. Plus I know where the story's going because I've had this story written or planned out for, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years now.
That's so wild that it's been that long, but I guess
it was going to originally be 2 short movies. It was going to be one called Unicorn Sunrise and one called Unicorn Sunset, and I was going to put them together. I know, but and that term comes up in the film too. I
love it.
So I'm just taking all those elements, and it's kind of nice because I am not a big series watcher on like streaming. There's too many. There's too many. Like when I see something that looks interesting, I go, oh, 13 episodes. Oh, forget it. I can't invest that time. But I'm guilty of doing this.
I have a similar thing.
Yeah,
I have a similar thing when it's like 13 in and you haven't started at the ground floor. I feel like the best way to do it would be to start like, right as it's going, because then it's not as overwhelming. So if you guys are out there are 2 episodes of the Unicornians out. The link to the second one's directly there, and then YouTube, right under that. They're amazing.
On Animation Plus, but
no. On YouTube. So the plan is the whole series is going to premiere on YouTube for free, and then I'm going to assemble the movie because when this is done, it'll be the length of a movie.
Yeah,
a shorter movie, but a movie, and then that'll play on Animation Plus, the movie.
Could you have done that with Full Fungus, or would it have not broken?
Oh, I absolutely could have done it with Full Fungus, and I
wish you had.
Halfway through, I was like, you know what? I thought about this. Part of me wishes I had done that, but then the other part thought it was such a big task that I'm like, I'm kind of glad I just tackled it all. Working on it was not hard. Working on Full Fungus was a pleasure and a joy, but. Like assembling it, doing all the technical stuff. That was
especially having to do that twice.
Yeah,
like
well, the audio.
I
had to do the audio.
Yeah.
I did a whole mix of the Full Fungus, and I was just pulling my hair. I was like, I couldn't get it to sound the way I wanted, and then I figured out, oh, this is how you do it. This is the better way. And then I went back and redid all of the audio. I just laid it upon itself. So that was a mess, but once it was done, it was done.
Yeah,
at least I didn't have to re-edit the film or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
Unicornians. Okay, so the thing I love about this series is the backstory and stuff of the characters. So I love that and I'm kind of curious about this. I guess this is going a little off topic from expanding on previous properties, but we're here to chat. It feels like I love that you start it directly with the stakes, right, for the character, because you're like basically showing how the Unicornians deal with infiltration, without giving away too much. But it's like I love that, and then the second's kind of introducing us to like, the beginning of the hero's journey or whatever, where it's like, the character's like in deep water, and I don't know how much to reveal, so I'll keep it kind of vague, but let's just say it's a very funny fall from grace for an investigative reporter. And that whole scene, see, this to me is interesting about your stuff, where you're expanding the Unicornian universe, but even within that scene, you have 2 characters having dinner that I could see being expanded into their own universe, because they're just such interesting characters, and then there's a lot of questions as to like how certain things came to be. I don't really want to give too much away with it, but
George, I'm comparing myself to these people now. George Lucas, Quentin Tarantino, and the Coen brothers, all 3 of them, when you watch their films, will have these characters pop up out of nowhere, and you're like, oh my god, that guy, that woman could be a main character in their own film. Like, and they don't. They just you never see them again. But I really enjoy that. Especially, I started noticing that really early on in Star Wars films. And in Star Wars films, fortunately now you can have a series about every single character and learn every single fact about there. But Tarantino's a master of that too. Like he'll bring up a character, and you're like, oh my, that character has a backstory, obviously.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I obviously, if anyone's looked at my Full Fungus companion book that I did, it's filled with backstories of all these characters that some of them just appear for a few seconds, including Joshua Kimball. There's a character named Joshua Kimball, and I gave him a really good backstory. So
it's a pretty good backstory. I dig it. Yeah,
it might be true. Some of it.
It probably is. I would say. I would estimate to say if you want to find out my real biography, you need to get Jim Lujan's.
I don't think mine. I think mine was the previous one that didn't have it. So
yeah, no, the special
new
edition.
One. Yeah, the special edition I think has it.
Yeah, just like the special edition.
But so like all these characters that are popping up and everything. It's to me that's like the really fun part about creating these stories. And I know where it's going. I roughly know how many episodes, but I'm not going to hold myself to that. But I kind of know how many episodes, and the fun part that I'm discovering, because it's not written out like a script. It's just kind of like I always do it. I bullet point it, and here's all the main things that happen. And then as I get there, I go, oh, it would be good to call back on this, or, to kind of shuffle things around. I like to work like that. And all of the new stuff the stuff that I haven't discovered yet is the fun stuff too. That's the stuff that will present itself,
I think this is one of the things that makes you really unique as an animator. Well, I mean, for one, you're an indie animator. There aren't, like, even to this day, like with the amount of availability of like independent animation at people's fingertips, there aren't a lot of people who are going to take on like a full-length film or a whole series on their own. So you're in a very unique class already. But one of the things I feel like really distinguishes your work is that the depth of character. And I always love talking to you about your work because you will have a story for like the guy on the right in the bowling alley that was wearing that quirky shirt. You're like, oh, he's wearing that shirt because he like goes fishing on the weekends and like he's always trying to catch the big fish, but he can't. And it's like, wait, this is just a character we see for 2 seconds, and you have a whole world for them. I think that just it shows in your work because it'll show in their costuming. It shows in like the environment, like that you draw them in, where there's little indicators of like different personalities. Even the intro where you have the heads of the Unicornians, right? They're all kind of together on a plane. And just the way you cast these characters, like the type of person each one is, just by their cadence and their humor and like, I don't know. I just I love that you put so much thought into that. How, out of curiosity, how did those characters come to be? Like the heads of the church and stuff, because you knew you wanted to kind of do this expansion on, the story of John Henry Unicorn. So what's the inception of the spinoff, like and those 4 characters?
So those 4 characters all have rock and roll names too, by the way. So when you're in the Unicornian church, they give you a unicorn name. So like, for example, one of the characters' name is Jerry Lee Unicorn, and then there's Ronnie James Unicorn, and Edward Van Unicorn, who is played by Matthew Warren, who is also in All That Glitters. But the church was kind of the main pillars of the church, in my mind, are the ones who when the Reverend John Henry Unicorn gets sent away to prison, which we see off camera. He's already in prison when this starts. Those are the most like probably they say the cream rises to the top. In this case, it's more like the mean rises to the top because they're probably the most ruthless of the people left over, and they're all older. That's one criteria. Most of them are older white guys. Sorry, guys, I don't mean to. I'm just saying, but
no, it's good. It's all DIY compliant.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Or no, a DEI.
DEI, sorry. Yeah.
Or DIY.
Both, all of every acronym. Yeah.
DIY compliant, really.
But it's so I mean they just kind of, a lot of them fell into that. There's probably a handful. There is a handful of characters that you haven't seen yet that also kind of run the church. Like you haven't.
I do remember you sending along a Unicornian scripture recording, and it was a speaker. What was her name again? I can't.
That was too. So there's and if you're on my Patreon, by the way, if you go to Jim Lujan at Patreon, or was it patreon.com/Jim Lujan, you can watch this clip. But there's a speaker, like a guru. Her name was Catherine Zeta Unicorn.
Catherine Zeta Unicorn. That was good.
And she does. That's actually Kaya Rogue, who does the was part of Counterclockwise. She did this just ad-libbed reading, and it's really.
She sounded so good. Yeah.
It's 4 minutes long, but like Leanne's was like, this is like, it was like torture because it just sounds so real. She sounds so real.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, I mean, you do that where like you'll, for little bits and things or background things you have playing, you'll record a whole thing.
Yes,
I think it's cool because then you can just take bits and pieces and then you got a little extra piece. But speaking of extra pieces, I just had an idea, something you got to do, whether it's just, kind of like what you did with the what do you call the thing with the bios and everything you did?
Oh yeah, like a little extra. Yeah.
You've got to do at least one Unicornian chick track.
Oh yes, yeah, or like a book of Unicornian, like an actual scripture would be amazing.
There is a book of Unicornian that I had been kind of working on, but not the whole thing because it would be huge. But Scott, it's funny that you say that. For the viewers, if you go look on my YouTube page, if you look at the thumbnails for the Unicornian episodes, they're all designed like chick tracks.
Oh, I love it.
I didn't make that connection.
Yeah, so I'm a big chick track fan. Huge. I love. So there's another thing that you guys haven't. Well, you may have seen it. There's a senator that's going to come out in this older. I don't know if he's Southern, or I think he is Southern. His name is Senator Jack Hamner, and he's involved in some shady dealings with the church, and I have a whole little speech that he's played by Charlie Rossman, who's done a million characters for me.
Best voice actor too.
Yeah, he's awesome.
A gentleman and a scholar.
Yes, and a Rossman. So he's he did this like great speech, and I have it on my Patreon as well. And this stuff will make its way to YouTube at some point. These little extra features, but it's strategic why I did this extra feature with the senator is because those clips are going to play. Pieces of those clips are going to play throughout the series. And also, I wanted to mention this. As I'm working on this series, I'm realizing I'm seeing glimpses of previous series that I've done coming out in this project. For example, this is the idea behind this series is I'm doing it as a series in these little small pieces, and at the end of it, I'll connect them all. I'll probably add some fillers and other material, and then I'll have a feature like a movie, probably like an hour-long movie. And this is the third time I'm doing this because I've done this with. I tell people go back and watch a series or watch the movie version of All That Glitters. This series is very similar to that in format, meaning there's a story that runs through the whole thing, but then it veers off into these little clips. Like there's a sitcom clip that plays in this, and there'll be some like commercials, or there's some Entertainment Tonight type shows that'll appear in this, and like little clips, and All That Glitters was set up like that. And then on the other side, it reminds me of The Mind of Lars Lazarus, because that was about a psychic, and it was kind of like my fake horror sci-fi vibe, but the Unicornians kind of has like a horror sci-fi vibe too. So
yeah, a bit of that suspense.
Kind of like a meeting. So the soundtrack on this, Josh, too, I wanted to tell you, is by a band. The Unicornian soundtrack is done by a band called the Swizzle Stick Army, which
nice.
You're very familiar.
It's my favorite band. So you've literally made the a spinoff of my favorite Jim Lujan cartoon, because John Henry Unicorn is my favorite Jim Lujan. Like the Unicornian Church is just amazing to me. But you also have included my favorite Jim Lujan band. Mydron asked if it's based on Jonestown. And actually, that's a good question. Like, what is the inspiration?
So, I thought when I was years ago, because the original John Henry Unicorn cartoon, when did that come out, Josh? Like 2010 or something like that?
Yeah, it doesn't seem that long ago, so that probably means it was long ago.
Yeah, it was probably like 2012 or something like that. But my original... this is going to sound funny, Mydron. My original design for John Henry Unicorn was actually the country singer George Jones, another Jones. And I put these glasses on him, and there would just seem like a familiarity about him. And then later on, I realized, oh my God, I subconsciously created him into a similar likeness of what's his name?
Jim Jones. Right.
Yeah. And that probably was subconscious, but I didn't set out to design him after Jim Jones. It was another Jones, George Jones. It was the hair. Nice. And but looking back now, it's like, okay, I get it. It totally looks like Jim Jones. And there's a whole backstory that it won't be in this project, but one day I'll tell. I have the whole origin of John Henry Unicorn, how he started. That's a funny story. One day I'll tell.
I love this format for you too, because if you wanted to veer off and say, because I've told you one of the reasons I like absolutely adore this series is on my free time, if I have to pick something to watch and there's a cult documentary I haven't seen, it's like 9 out of 10 times I'll go for that cult documentary, because there's something intriguing and fascinating about him. But what's great about this is like you have a format where if you wanted to create, like kind of cult videos, like videos of like cult sections where it's like stories of the unicorn, and you have already stitched them in. Like I loved, you have a scene where we're hearing a little bit of how the Unicornians kind of like chastise their flock. Being like, and when the unicorn came upon them, and it's like the just the way that you deliver that with the voice acting too, and the kind of the strange mythology and lore of the unicorn like mixed in there. I just think that's great for like a springboard for your stuff, because it's like there's so many avenues. Yeah. You could go down, which kind of,
I'm doing my version of the Family Guy. So it's I could have these interstitial things that pop up out of nowhere, but then they'll make sense in the big picture. If you guys watch episode 1, there's a sitcom that plays at the beginning of it. It's like a little scene from a sitcom called That's Rad. Yes. And the kid's catchphrase is, that's rad. And that character and that whole sitcom will make sense in a few episodes. So there's a lot of things.
Oh, there's more to it?
There's way more to it, yeah.
Oh.
They kind of like give
Lost.
a hint of it.
It's a little bit like Lost, right? Except I, just like J.J. Abrams, don't know where it's going. Okay.
Nice. You're like, it's a magic box, guys. And at the end, it doesn't tie together. No, usually you do kind of stitch your stories together at the end in a really amazing way. Okay, one question: do you feel like you've gotten better at editing? Because these shorts, just all your animation gets like better and better every time. Like on the editing front, like to me, I feel like the way you're kind of integrating music and clips and cutting. To me, like, the Full Fungus was like the best thing I've ever seen you do when it comes to that. Like, no offense, because all your stuff is great, but it's like, it just like felt like you leveled up even more on like just how smooth and slick the transitions were. It just felt very cinematic. This feels like that too, where it's like there's really like the pacing is just really solid and consistent, and the cuts are really good. I don't know. Have you noticed, like, are you kind of keying in on like more slick editing? Because it feels really slick. I don't know if that makes sense.
When you just give up on the animation quality, then you can focus on the editing. No, I've always thought editing is really important. I think it's just a matter of, well, I'm coming off of the Full Fungus, a year and a half, of doing stuff, and I don't know, like 4 months of editing. So I think my chops are good. It's kind of like on a band tours, then they go in the studio and they're able to, play better. I think it's just in a zone where I can edit really well. Plus, these are, here's a little secret. I hate doing shorts sometimes. I really do. Like my mindset is like in a 20-minute zone. Like that's like the perfect length cartoon for me. Yeah. But I don't always want to do 20 minutes. So these little 5 to 7 or so minute cartoons, they're very like commercials. They're very dense, and they're like, that's where the editing comes in. And so I'll initially do a version. They're usually not that much longer than the final version, but it's not edited as tightly. And then I go back and I clean stuff up. So that's we I don't know if we were off air when we were talking about this, but I mentioned that these little cartoons have the energy of like a thumbnail. They're like, I keep the looseness. Also, I won't get paid unless I mention his name at least once per episode. But Gary Hodges, and we were talking about this, about how it's like with these shorts, it's a difference between doing a long cartoon and a short cartoon. These shorts are it's like a long cartoon, you can drift. You can really drift. Yeah. And sometimes when you have too many options, you can go nuts. If that makes any sense. If you have too many.
No, that makes perfect sense.
If you have 18 snare drums to pick from, the song's probably going to get delayed because you're going to be messing with the snares. And, oh, no, this one's a tone higher. So, like with these shorts, I have to tell a story in a compressed amount of time. So the editing comes into play, and the what's the word I'm looking for? The economics of the economy.
You're like kind of trimming all, like there's no fat. It's just all,
Yeah. And then in a way there is a sort of fat, but it's like not like a saturated fat. It's a healthy fat. Because I can drift, but I have amount of time. I can't drift for 3.5 minutes and have a 6-minute cartoon. I need to be mindful of that. So
I'm built the same way. Like I tend to like long form. I mean, that's why I tend to do these like long graphic novels and stuff. And when I think about short cartoons, like people we both know, Jim, who do like New Yorker cartoons and stuff, that to me is like the epitome of like a horror show to me. Like trying to come up with one panel that's gonna say something great. Like I need more space, to tell a story. And I wonder about that. Like, do you find it kind of more stressful to do like a shorter one, or right now is it just kind of like awesome because you're like, wow, I can do this quick? Because they don't look like, again, these look very slick. You were talking about these looking like thumbnails. I don't agree. I think your art and your editing. Because your art and your editing, like every single one just kind of ups the level. But it's like, I'm just kind of curious, which do you find, like, how do you find working in short? Like, is it
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel anxiety having to shorten.
That's something I think about a lot. By the way, our New Yorker cartoon mutual friend is Lonnie Millsap, and he is a horror show. Trust me, he is so demanding. He's so demanding.
That man is a wild diva. Man.
So it does, and it did. It brings me a sense of more anxiety to do a short. That's why like the hardest thing for me to do is like a little fake commercial, because it's so tightly edited and it has to be bam, bam, bam. But it's actually, when I'm doing it, it's a lot easier than the anxiety leading me to the project. When I'm doing the commercial and doing stuff like that, I can do it, but it's just like thinking about it ahead of time, it does bring me more anxiety, because it's like it's the difference between doing not that I know anything about playing a giant concert, but it is the difference between saying you got one number, go out there and do the one number, you got a razzmatazz kid, versus saying go play a set. Then you can build a flow and a mood and things like that. So
and if you mess up a chord, it's not like the main focus because there's only one song. Right.
So doing the shorts to me does. This is a little bit. I'm finding this to be an exception for two reasons. One, again, I'm just coming off the long project, the hour-plus movie, so these are kind of easy to do compared to those I can do quick. But also, this is a project that I already know most of the characters. I definitely know where it's going. So it's kind of unfolding rather than me having to sit down and think of stuff. It's kind of just unraveling. Now, if you ask me how many episodes it is, that's when the anxiety meter goes up. Because then I'm like, 13 episodes? And then what if I get to 12? I'm like, oh, I have 7 more episodes left I could do.
So I'm not even. Well, because I love Unicornians, I want to see this go like seasons. I want to get into the weeds. I want to see what they did to the local town. Did they poison food like the weird cult in Oregon that wore maroon? I want to know all about this stuff.
Speaking of seasons and things, and I know Scott right now, he's working on his dream board. So his vision board.
It's going to be so fun to see.
So I can't wait to. He's been working on that for a long time. So Scott, when you're finished, you can show us. Scott, put this on your vision board.
Okay.
I'm putting this out into the universe. I want some big Hollywood big bucks to come knocking on my door and say, "Hey, we want to make a San Giorno Must Die movie. We want to make a John Henry Unicorn movie. We want to make a All That Glitters movie, Full Fungus movie." Like, I want them
Cherries
to start,
in the Snow. Cherries in the Snow still should be made. That's a great movie.
I say that as well.
When's the sequel? So we've
that'll happen. The sequel will happen, and it's going to have the best title. It's called Cherries in the Snow 2. Because I've never done a 2. So
you know what? The 2 has to have 2 cherries.
It kind of was. It was going to be 2 cherries like that. Yeah.
It has to. Yeah.
That's a given. But I would love for Hollywood to, like, I'm ready to sell out. I am totally ready. And you can make whatever you can cast whoever you want, as long as the check's clear. I'm cool. And as long as I can still make my stuff, But I think these would be great live action. I would, if you even pay me, I'll even direct them. So whatever. So, but okay, getting back to the.
I think that's a great thing. Speaking of that structure, okay, like because I do think that's one of the things that would translate well to film is like your pacing and your structure. So on this, like the 2 episodes that are out have like really clear cliffhangers. So like every time I've watched an episode, I want to see the next immediately.
Yeah.
Are you doing that intentionally? Is that something that's kind of coming into mind with like shorter work versus like larger work? Like where almost like the page turn where you want people to keep going. Like I'm curious the thinking on that, because I will say you guys should watch these episodes. They do kind of leave you wanting more. Almost it has to be intentional, I would think.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm biased, but I feel like they're really watchable too. Like they're like they keep your attention. Actually, the whole cliffhanger thing, each scene is, and I again going back to like let's say All That Glitters. If you watch it as a movie or as a series, everyone ends in kind of like a cliffhanger. It makes you want to see the next episode. But I think I just like with the Full Fungus I just did. That's not a series. It's just a series of scenes. And I think even the Full Fungus, each scene kind of leads to like where you're like, oh, what's going to happen next? And then it'll jump to something else and come back to it. I just think that's a natural storytelling trait that I probably picked up from, again, Lucas or whoever, I don't know where that comes from. Or just maybe it's my own attention span. Like I want to see a story like that makes you want to, because it would be terrible if you're watching it and you're like, thank God that's over,
Well, no, but like I think what's great is each short kind of ends on like a bit of a mystery where it's like there's a setup and we're not quite given like, everything or whatever, but there's just a lingering like question in each one where you want to know a little more. And I think you do that really exceptionally on this series.
The very last episode of the Unicornians is going to have an old man pull his mask off and go, Mr. Withers, it's you. I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you darn Unicornians.
Or he pulls off the 10 masks and you see it was you all along.
He pulls off all the masks, and the last mask is the first face that was on the first mask.
That has to happen.
But no, I'm having a good time doing these. Again, they're a little bit easier to make than in normal circumstances because there's less that I have to actually just come up from scratch.
Yeah.
The one thing I am coming up from scratch, a lot of them, except for the main characters, are the characters, like the side characters and different characters. But like there's a reporter. Like, so another thing I should mention.
By the way, the books were great. The books in the background of the reporter. Yeah, that was all well chosen. I read all the book titles. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
I got a lot of those titles from a few folks in the Crestline mob, as we call it, the Artcasters and the Making Comics guys, and Gary Hodges. That's twice I said his name. One more time and he shows up. So, but
yeah, be careful. He might.
By the way, I have audience participation moment. I'm challenging your audience to submit to me, and I'll give you a thank you if I use it, names for Unicornians. But here's the naming convention that I use. And here's the other thing. I almost guarantee you that if you give me a name, I already have it on my list. Because I have about 100 names on this list that over the years. But like the first two names, they always end in unicorn. And the first two names are usually a historical figure or a pop culture figure. Right. For example, there's David Lee Unicorn, or there's I'll tell you, I actually have the list up right here. Or there's Anna Nicole Unicorn, or there's as mentioned earlier, there's Olivia Newton Unicorn. She's going to be coming out in this. But there's also some historical figures here too. I think there was a Benjamin Franklin Unicorn somewhere. But if you guys want to submit some names like that, Ralph Emerson Unicorn. There's Lisa Marie Unicorn, Franklin Delano Unicorn.
Franklin Delano Unicorn works
Booker
really well.
T Unicorn, Robert E Unicorn, Lyndon B Unicorn. Yeah, there's all kinds of Andrew Lloyd Unicorn. There's Jamie Lee Unicorn, Sammy Davis Unicorn. So there's a ton of unicorn names that I have. But if you have any Jack Black Unicorn, that's a nice one. Keep them coming, man. Keep them coming, because I hit a brain freeze at one moment. I'm like, I'm out of unicorn names. But they're starting to filter. Of unicorns? Well, without cheating, I did. Might have to use AI.
Is there a Stevie Ray unicorn?
No, I don't.
Oh, Stevie Ray Unicorn would be really good.
I'm writing that down, Scott. Thank you. That's a great one. That's a perfect example. Yeah. Stevie.
Yeah.
I'm glad I thought of that.
It seems like they work best when there's a first and middle name and a last name, and then you're kind of change. So it's got to be like kind of two names, and then the third part of the name is turned into unicorn. I feel like that's where it really hits.
John Quincy Unicorn.
John Quincy Unicorn's pretty good.
Yeah, Francis Bacon Unicorn. I don't. Or is it Francis Key? I don't know what. Anyways, there's a ton. I got Lady Gaga Unicorn. That's what But
I love it. Yeah, you guys definitely Uma Thurman Unicorn.
Uma Thurman Unicorn.
I love that lore too of the church. I think you really do need to make like a little scripture. Maybe it's like one of those little pocket Bibles, you know.
Yeah. By the way, I talked with.
That'd be a good promotion piece. Just leave it around. Leave the little chick tracks around with the QR code in the background.
Oh my god!
Start leaving it in hotels.
Yeah.
Next to the Gideon Bible.
If it exploded, though, can you imagine the fan base? It would be pretty crazy showing up at my house. Vincent Price. Oh, there's a Vincent Van Unicorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the main
Van
ones.
Unicorn.
That's one of the main ones you'll meet. So, okay, so going back to the whole naming convention and thing like that, in this series, you'll see some unicorn traditions, like the naming of and some of the ceremonies and training and things like that. You'll see some of that in the unicorn. That's why it's called the Unicornians too, because it's about the Unicornians, you know.
Yeah.
About the inner workings of the church.
Oh, I can't wait.
Josh, I also wanted to say this too. I was talking with one of my spiritual advisors, Father Paul Pate, and I was telling him that.
You mean Paul Pate Unicorn, right?
Paul Pate Unicorn, yeah. I was telling him that from day one, from when I first started creating the whole first International Church of the Unicorn, I never, and I still feel this way, I never set my intentions on making fun like people ask me, oh, is it based on Scientology or whatever? I'm like, no, it's just literally is built upon the Reverend John Henry Unicorn and his madness. I did not focus on, but it's funny. There are, just by it expanding, there's elements that you might think like, oh, it is based on, like, for example, the Unicornians are like, they have their finger in Hollywood and politics and this, but that's just because they're a big corporation church, or, they're big tax free, I got nothing against religion. I think all religions are good. They all do good, but they all do bad, too, just like people. So, and that's one to grow on.
Well, and I always feel like your stuff is never, you rarely are like lampooning things. You're usually like, the thing I like about your cartoons, I think I've mentioned this before, but it's like you actually put a lot of care into your characters. So it's weird, but it's like it's the best kind of humor in my mind, because like that's one thing I love about the Coen brothers too, is like they'll have characters and they're wacky characters, but they're not like going, look at this weirdo, they're exploring this interesting character.
I like exaggeration rather than lampooning stuff. I like to do something that's real, but it's exaggerated to a point. By the way, Dylan said Lin-Manuel Unicorn.
I think if you take the Manuel out.
Lin-Manuel Unicorn is really good.
I got Lin-Manuel Unicorn. I have it on my list already. So I don't have Lady Gaga Unicorn on here. So that's pretty good. But I think it's, to me, I mean, it sounds odd, but the humor that I like doesn't have punchlines, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm a big Tim and Eric fan. I love Will Ferrell. I love Andy Kaufman's my all-time favorite. None of those have like traditional punchlines.
Yeah, even like Curb Your Enthusiasm doesn't have like a.
It's just funny because it's funny. Yeah,
situationally,
yeah, and I like that type of stuff. I like stuff that when you see it, it's already, just because of the situation, it's kind of funny, and then and it's completely character based too. My stuff. That's why Hollywood producers, if you make major motion pictures of my films, your actors would really have a good time playing these characters. And
it's
you would just
and you're gonna rake in the big bucks. Yeah,
big bucks
for sure,
or huge flop. But either way, I get paid, so it doesn't really matter as much. But just saying, Andrew Dice Unicorn, I have here. Daniel Unicorn. I got Daniel Unicorn. Samuel Jackson Unicorn. Oh, this is the newest one I added. Alfred E. Unicorn.
Oh, nice, like Alfred.
And I got Jean-Claude Unicorn. John Wilkes.
Unicorn. I almost feel like Jean-Claude Unicorn should be Jean-Claude Van Unicorn.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna add that. That's a good point.
Yeah.
You get no money, but I'll add that.
I want my residuals here. I want my points here.
I want my Unicornian.
That's the series is fun, and I'd encourage you guys to watch it, because I think one of the fun things about watching this unfold as it's being made is, for one thing, you avoid kind of what we were talking about of like, oh my gosh, there's 14 episodes. How am I ever? But just start at the ground floor so it's not intimidating. Yeah, and then also you get to enjoy the thing I love about Jim's mind is you never know exactly where the next thing's going to go. Like this one took kind of a turn from the first episode, establishing another thing, and so it's still fitting a nice story arc, but it's like it went in a direction I didn't expect. And
five or six, I don't know if it's going to be 5 or 6, is going to take a bless you. May the unicorn bless you and keep you healthy among the stars. So episode 5 or 6 is going to take a huge spin for the audience, but it all comes back together. So
okay, one quick question about your shorts. Do you intentionally pick hard to put in, hard to draw and hard to stage environments? Because you constantly will pick something where you're like, I'm gonna do the interior of an airplane. I'm gonna do this scene at a diner packed full of people.
Yeah, I know. You're right. It's self-flagellation. I guess.
It's amazing.
I don't know. You're right. I'm thinking about that. I do. It's like, when do I ever have some this scene takes place in the sky?
Yeah.
And there's nothing. There's no clouds. It's just blue.
Or just well, that'll be for the Andrew Dice Unicorn, is because I was gonna say just have it in front of a brick wall. There you go, Andrew Dice Unicorn.
By the way, Jeremy Burley on his art show did a portrait of John Henry Unicorn, and it's magnificent. And I'm gonna use it as a painting in the background of one of the scenes. Also, Paul Pate.
Oh, did he digitally paint it?
Paul Pate did, both of them. Paul Pate did a character. And here's another challenge for you all out there. If you want to do a portrait of the Reverend John Henry Unicorn and His Majesty in all his glory, if you want to do a portrait, I will take a picture of that, a screenshot of it, and I'll put it in a frame in the background in one of the scenes. Most likely.
Oh, you guys gotta rock that. That's
if you guys, and you say, Jim, where do I send it to? If you go to jimlujan.com, it's my YouTube page, my email's there. So you can send it, you can go there. So, but yeah,
I love it.
I'm doing them myself, and I'm going through because that's one thing I do with my cartoons is there's always artwork or paintings on the wall, and I just go back and use old paintings old artwork that I've done, or things like that, and I tweak them and I make them into little paintings or pictures. Or once in a while, yes, Corey Kerr, I'll use the dreaded AI to do an abstract painting or something like that. Or I just use AI to create the entire cartoon. Sometimes I just say go,
as you do.
I type G.
You are such a good prompter, Jim. Your prompts are incredible.
Promptist. I'm a promptist. So,
have you seen? There was a bit on Facebook. It was a short. I wish I remember the guy who did it, but he was dressed as Bob Ross, and he's got a keyboard, and he's like, let's just type some happy trees. And he just starts prompting all the different Bob Ross stuff.
I haven't seen it. That's awesome.
I was like, that's great. Yeah. And meanwhile, he kind of looks like he's like losing his mind gradually as it goes, you know. So
if your hair, Josh, was more like mine, and you grew it out, you would look. You could play Bob Ross in a movie. You got the beard.
My hair really wants to be a Bob Ross haircut. I have to constantly be like cutting this ridiculousness because that's where I think my soul wants me to have like a giant, like Dylan in the late 70s hairdo, you know?
Yeah, my hair never grew, like, even when I, like in high school, I had longer hair. It never grew down. My hair just grew out like Seinfeld.
Mine too. Mine's
like I just had bigger, the same version, just bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of, I tried to do long hair in the 90s, right? And that was one of the problems was like the getting over that phase where it would just want to be like, yeah.
It's politically incorrect to say rat tail.
I don't think so.
Okay. God, don't ever.
I have friends who are rats, and they're very offended.
We prefer vermin tail, please.
Vermin tail.
Rodent tail.
I think Unicornians is really interesting. It's intriguing. I'm curious to see where it heads. Dylan was saying try it out. I unfortunately I do about every month, and then I have to like trim the chia pet up here. The crazy.
Yeah, if I go like this, if I run my fingers through my hair, sometimes like other day I did that in the front, and my like bangs were like, I was like, what the heck? I don't even have hair. It's all thinning, and it's like it's like it just kind of bunches up like a rat's nest, you know.
I love that. We need to let our hair just all go wild, you guys, for the next Artcasters. Yeah. Let our hair down, get our nails did, like it. Yeah. It's okay. So Unicornians, we got a cast of interesting, fascinating characters. And there's more to come. Like I'm guessing we're going to be meeting
more to
a bunch
come,
of
and
different
some people that doing some guest voices. So far, I've got Matthew Warren, Deacon Burns, who's in everything. Charlie Rossman did also Gary Hodges, this new kid on the scene, did a great job. He's in episode 2. Did a great job. Great job. Chris
he did
Ward.
A great job, but he's easily the best. I can't do a good. I really wish I could do a good one.
Chris Ward, the amazing and wonderful Chris Ward, will be doing a voice, and there's a few others. You guys might do them too. You never know. But yeah. So, and then I'm doing a lot of the voices too. It's been good. I'm having a good time, and I thought this is nice that we're doing it. Episode 3 is coming out probably the end of right now. This is May of 2025 that we're recording this. So Jim, if you're in the future, send me the lotto numbers. But at the end of this month, episode 3 will be coming out.
What's the frequency, or is there one as far as
what's the frequency, Kenneth?
Yeah.
That's a 90s joke for you. I want to say like the first 2 were like 3 weeks apart. I'd say probably like a month, a month maybe. Average, but maybe a little less sometimes, hopefully. But about one a month. Gosh, man, I don't know how. I didn't set out to do this for a whole year, but it'll probably when I'm done. When I get bored, the story ends when I get bored. Done.
There's a sequence where you kind of. This is you guys really need to watch this. It's amazing. One of my favorite parts is in episode 1 when we're hearing from the Reverend himself. He's telling us a tale of the early
the man from the Shady
Unicornians.
Mountain. It's the parable, the man from the Shady.
Yeah, the
Shady
parable.
Mountain. Yeah.
And the way you edited the parable felt like it just felt like every like Sunday school video you saw where it's like, and then they knelt before the whatever, and the verbiage and just the voice acting that I believe that's your voice, right? Doing the Reverend. Yeah. You do so good at that. Like at the evangelical just tales, how they're like, I love it so much. It's
thank you.
It's just super great, and I'm hoping we'll see more of that too. Like
you will. And if you're a patron join my Patreon, you get exclusive clips that won't be in the thing. But I will post.
You should rename your Patreon to John Henry Patreon.
Yes, I think so. Van Patreon.
But you guys should be on Jim's Patreon. It's cool. He gives you a lot of extra snippets. You get like early versions of the videos as they're being created, and a bunch of extras and stuff. And it's not like super crazy expensive. It's like you can give a couple bucks, like just
literally like $1.
Chip in there.
You get all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you should be giving, I think, millions of dollars in making Hollywood franchises from it. That's personally what I would do.
It keeps me off of Smack and off the streets. So,
it's
thanks,
true.
guys.
You guys don't want to see other Jim.
Yeah. Well, one of the two keeps me.
We won't say which one.
I won't say which one. But, no, thank you guys. Right. I mean, it's funny, Josh. You and Javier Hernandez are the two people, like the two original fans of John Henry Unicorn, I think. Maybe Kevin Cross, too. Like the three of you were like the original John Henry Unicornians. Yeah.
I am an early Unicornian.
Adopter.
I think it's the way. I think people should consider it. My life's been better since, talking to the Reverend.
Before we go, I want to mention this too. I probably should send you the links, or maybe if you want to look them up or whatever. But the John Henry Unicorn cartoon on YouTube, the original one. Then there's one called Day of the Unicorn. Day of the Unicorn is where John Henry Unicorn is already in prison. And it's like a prison movie meets, it's weird. Not that everything I do isn't weird, but it's weirder. But if you watch Day of the Unicorn, it's kind of like the bridge a little bit between John Henry Unicorn and this series. And then there's one that is named after a very famous Unicornian scripture called Faith Healing Through Superior Firepower. And that title actually comes from my friend Bill Moran. But that is another unicorn movie. But that one's just kind of like an offshoot. But if you go watch Day of the Unicorn, John Henry Unicorn, you don't need to, but you should. But you should. They're all related. They're all kind of in the same, universe. And I'll say this: All That Glitters. If I won't spoil anything for you, but there is a Unicornian connection to All That Glitters, and there's character from All That Glitters that appears in episode 3 that I haven't mentioned, that nobody knows yet about, that comes from that film and is also in this film, or project.
I love that. So Jim, out of curiosity, what is it that kind of keeps you playing in the same like pool of Lujan verse, like it kind of expanding it out into this giant universe? What is it that kind of keeps you there? Like keeps you interested in kind of expanding out the universe?
I think what it comes down to, a lot of it comes down to a backlog of work, of stuff. Like I'll have these ideas that really excite me, but I can't get to them right now. So I jot them down or put them in the vault. But but it's like I can't get to them right away. So that when I'm done with the project, I look and I'm like, I really wanted to do that one too. So like this is a perfect example. Like I did so many projects in between ever getting to this, and then when the time came to after Full Fungus was going to be wrapped, I'm like, what's my next thing going to be? What do I feel like doing? This just like jumped out at me, but I just didn't want to do it as a movie at that time. I said, I'd like to tell it a slower release on this, and easier on me, but still fun and more digestible. Like, I didn't want to make people watch a 20-minute movie right after I finished a hour-plus movie. But,
which you guys should all watch. The Full Fungus too. It's amazing.
It's catch it on Animation Plus, which is on Roku, Samsung TV, and Plex. And I think it's going to be coming to some other.
Or join your Patreon.
There you go. If you join my
here's another marketing idea for you.
Yeah.
So you got to offer, if you join the Patreon, then you get a Unicornian name. You get assigned a Unicornian.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yes. Then I'll run out of names.
Yeah.
No, and then I trick them.
That's a good problem to have, because that means you're going to get tons of new patrons.
I said, and here's the best part: you get to choose your own Unicornian name.
I like it.
I mean, you get to make it up, and then just keep it to yourself.
Yes.
And then send me your money.
Yeah.
No, that's actually a really. When it comes to marketing, and this is a whole nother episode that we'll do. I want you to have me and Gary on and have an episode called Marketing Failure. Because we are successful creators that are horrible at marketing.
Hey, I've got ideas. That doesn't mean I actually implement it. So it's
okay. And one more thing too, Scott. Now it's not jumping the gun because your Kickstarter is successfully complete.
Yeah.
I want to publicly say that a lot of us are extremely excited about your next project.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to. It should be one of those things where, like, sometimes a creator will do a making of, and then you're like, dude, you've been doing the making of for 46 years. In this case,
it's all fun stuff to watch being made.
I really
this is the kind of thing.
I want to lean into the process, and I want to share that process. And when it's done, I want to have like a lot of back matter and stuff with how it was created. I didn't really have so much of that with Young and the Dead. There were just a few sketches, but I basically went straight to the page on a lot of
Scott,
stuff.
when you do this though,
this one would be different.
I have a genuine piece of advice. When you do the making of, I'm speaking for all the fans. We had a meeting earlier.
Okay. You don't know the fans.
Do it super simple. Like, don't kill yourself with the editing and production. Right. I don't even care if you have your phone propped up and you're just like, that's what people really want to see. They want to see the content and the idea, and you're expressing the ideas. I don't think people really care about, like, watch this swirl fade,
Right. Yeah.
It's just So make it easy on yourself.
Yeah. I'll also say, Scott, this is the kind of thing that people want to see making ofs, because just the designs that you're going to have to do to make this work, that would be a fun video alone, just to see you working on building out like a mech,
I hope I'm not spoiling the reveal, but Scott's building a huge room-sized diagram of Epstein's Island.
Yes.
And it's functional. And
it's like a big
it's actually an island.
It's actually an island. Yeah.
With model characters, but they're actually people. Actually, he's just kind of trying to recreate Epstein's Island
with animals. That's horrible. That's terrible.
I'm excited about the Unicornians. You guys out there should be excited about the Unicornians as well. If you haven't been following Jim Lujan, what are you doing? You guys need to be following Jim's work. Jim, the one thing I would say, this is my one thing that I want for myself, and you got to throw it on like Society 6 or something. We need some Unicornian like church merch. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like a mug.
A
t-shirt, but it's like the cool Unicornian youth group t-shirt. Like, you know what I mean? Like just some kind of church merch for
Unicornian youth group. I like that. Okay. Yeah.
Just something Unicornian church related to where, you could have it like as a mug or whatever at work, and people could, ask. And if you're in the know, you could be like, oh, I'm just a member of the Unicornians. But I don't like talking about it too much.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't define me. It's just a big, part of my life. But
That's great. That is great. Yeah. That's going to be on Artcasters 496 marketing failures.
But anyhow, I love this series, and I love the universe of the Lujan verse is great. This happens to be one of my favorite parts of the Lujan verse. So check it out if you guys haven't. Jim, thank you for coming on. Is there anything we didn't quite get to?
No, thank you guys for promoting the Full Fungus all that time too. It really helped. So appreciate that.
We love. Thanks for coming on because we love your work. So
thank you to all, and thank you to all my patrons too. That is really it's the opposite of a gut punch. It's a gut strengthener. It's probiotic.
It's a probiotic. You guys are my probiotic.
You guys are my probiotic. You guys
out there. I love it. All right, Scott. Wait. That's right. Scott always has to end.
How long have we been doing this, Josh? Come on.
I know. This is part of the shtick, okay? I forget every time. All right. Well, if you haven't yet, you're on my channel. Subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications, and check out, let me find it one more time. This guy, boom, No Saboteurs. The sun eventually sets on everything with art, where we were trying to get the vibe of a 90s album put out on Touch and Go or something, like a Crooked Rain kind of vibe. I'm very proud of this album. You guys should check it out. It's streaming everywhere. After you check out the Unicornians. Unicornians, you should go watch. You could literally watch one episode right after this. And, 5-10 minutes of your life, you'll thank me. Go check it out. So the link to that is down here. And then afterwards, while you're working, put on No Saboteurs to listen to. All right, Jim, where can everybody find your work? Where can they check it out? Where can they support your Patreon? All that stuff.
I'm on Instagram as well. I forgot to mention that.
All right.
So they can go there. JimLujan.com. And then if you go to Patreon, patreon.com/Jim Lujan. A bunch of extra stuff on there. I always post stuff there first, so they get the episodes first before anybody. And mainly I want people to subscribe on YouTube. I think I need to build that number up for some unknown reason. And also, let's not forget to mention Corey Kerr, because he is in our soul. And
it's true.
He's still around. I'm just saying.
Brother Unicorn. Brother Curry.
Brother Corey. Unicorn. Corey Curry Unicorn. Unicur. So, anyways, want to give him a shout out. He's a good guy. Watch his stuff.
Yeah. Too. We do miss Corey being on it every week, but we will have to have Corey back on soon. That would be fun to have him back on. All right. Make sure you guys check out Jim's stuff. Jim, thanks for joining us. Scott, how do people keep track of this crazy thing? Where should they if they missed the Kickstarter, where should they be clued into to kind of, support your work and stuff like that? And how do they keep track of this crazy train, this show?
Yeah, so if you missed the Kickstarter, I thought I set up a late backer, but I guess it's not working, or I messed up or something because I can't figure out how to do it. So, but just pay attention to my website. Eventually, after everyone gets their rewards and everything, I will have the trade and everything available on my website, both for digital download and the physical copy, and hopefully I will premiere it at Phoenix Fan Fusion, which I will be a guest at in I think it's June 6th. So that's coming up next month. But just go to my website, circworks.com, go to my YouTube channel, check out my YouTube videos. It's just search Circworks Art Labs on YouTube. And this show, the Artcasters, we do this show every single week. It rotates back and forth between Josh's channel and my own. Typically, we do it on a Tuesday, typically at 8 o'clock Pacific, but that can change. Last week was early. It can get confusing, but if you don't want to be confused, just join our mailing list. Usually, what we do, we don't spam or anything. All we do is usually about 30 minutes or so before we go live, we'll send out an email letting you know who the guest is, what the topic is, and it'll just take you a link right to whatever channel it's on. So do that. That's the easiest way to keep track of this show. And thank you to everyone in the chat.
All right, guys, and let's lead out with a quick song of praise to the unicorn. John Henry Unicorn suffered since the day he born.
We need your cover version, Josh.
I do. I need to cover that. I will try to get to that immediately.
Apparently, Josh is covering my song. Apparently, he needs to do a cover version. Apparently, he...
I like passive aggressive, Jim. All right. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Make sure you're supporting indie animation, support Jim Lujan stuff. Watch him on Animation Plus. We'll see you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.